I thank y'all very much for listening to That Will Nevr Work podcast. I have the co-founder of Strata Originals, past international chair YPO Gold. He co-leads a personal branding agency specializing in working with CEOs, executives, entrepreneurs, and legal professionals with a strategic, intentional, and authentic approach. And he has coached well over 600 CEOs in just the past couple years. There's an interesting thought about this gentleman today. He is a chief squirrel tamer. We're going to touch on that in just one moment, and we'll talk about that right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Nevr Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
I thank you very much for tuning in, and I have none other than Alan McLaren. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Maurice, I realize you have one name. You're like Madonna. Is that the deal?
Yes. Yeah, right. There's no other Maurices out there. I'm the only one that matters, right?
You are it. That's good. We're talking about personal branding.
I know, right?
You are the only one that's ever been invented that way. So, yeah.
And so when we talk about branding, it's funny that you use the words chief squirrel tamer, right? That is a very unique perspective. So where did that even come from? Where did that idea even come from?
Well, what happens when you're working with two things? One, my business partner, Leanne, is a full-on ADHD person.
Okay.
So having worked with her for 25 years, I understand how to work with people who are very distracted very quickly. Ergo, there's a squirrel, there's a squirrel, there's a squirrel. And surprisingly and not surprisingly, a lot of CEOs have an attention affliction, if you will, whether it's diagnosed ADHD or ADD or some other learning disability. They get distracted quickly. So my job really, I'm pretty good at process, is getting them back to where we need to talk about, where we need to go. The chief squirrel tamer is a little fun reaction to, okay, dude, I know we were talking about this and you're over here now.
Right.
Let me bring you back to where we're trying to go. So that's the fun part of what I do, but it's what I do every single day.
So being a squirrel tamer, how often do you find people, when they talk about their brand, their reputation, that is all over the place, that they're too busy copying someone else? So how does that idea help you, or even let them know, hey, you know what? I'm the right person that's going to, get you back on track.
Well, what we try to do is, first of all, let them understand their existing situation. Like, what is your brand today? How do people feel about it? How do they describe you? So Maurice, we use as an example, people would describe and say, hey, I met Maurice, and here are the attributes that they'll talk about when they talk about you, right? So when you're not I'll say when your personal brand shows up in the room before you do, and it stays there when you leave, right? So if you think about that, the first step is to understand, is it congruent with what you want the world to know? If the answer is yes, fantastic. The answer is, I'm not sure, then you need to explore that to make sure you're getting exactly what you want in the world. Are you leading with your heart? Are you clear? Are you an intellectual? Are you an expert in certain things? We start there, and then we work with them on what they want it to be. But the one word you mentioned in the introduction is authenticity. You need to be you. So I'm not here. I can't tell you jokes. I'm not a joke teller, right? So I'm not going to try to be funny in that way. I know that about me. I know I can be funny and interesting in situations, but I can't be funny as a joke teller. So you need to know who you are, what your talents are, and how you lead. Then you can decide on what you want to talk about after you're really clear on who you are.
So sometimes we're not in touch enough because, and I'm going to be honest, I only speak for myself. I recall being in corporate America where, as I'm trying to climb up the ladder, I was told I need to be someone else, right? In order for me to be successful and things like that. So how do I get back to knowing who I am if I'm always told that I need to be duplicatable, coachable, things like that? So how do I get to know who I am in those cases?
Well, the challenge with corporate America is you get put in a box, right?
Right.
You get put in a box, and here's the role I need you to play. And sometimes you need to play that role. I mean, that's just the game that is corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
When you're an entrepreneur, you can see how that game changes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can just be who you are. But my experience tells me this is if you're in corporate America today, you do need to fit into the box because that's what they're paying you for and they're hiring you that.
Right.
But it doesn't mean you can't beat up the edges a little bit. So
Mm.
if they say, I need you to be more coachable, I think that's kind of normal. Most people need to be coachable,
Mm-hmm.
right? In some way. But if you're an A player and a salesperson and you need to push the envelope, then it's about how you get coached.
Mm-hmm.
So on personal brand, I say, okay, I've worked with A players before that wanted to be on another island. I said, dude, listen, you need to pull on this part of the island. I need you to live on that corner of the island. I know you did cross over. So they learn to be coached in certain categories so they can still succeed.
Mm-hmm.
But your personal brand is you can't change who you are. You're not going to be successful if you get pushed out of a box. So play their game, but understand you at the end of the day, you want to perform, but you need to perform as you. And Maurice, you and I would be different people. We don't know each other that well.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be different people. But if we had the same values and focus on results, then we could work together because values matter,
Mm-hmm.
results matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then you working differently as I do differently with my business partner at the end. We come at things from two different places.
Right.
We land in the right place because we believe in the outcome of the mission. And so that's what I would say is just understand you're fitting into a role, but you are who you are and you can't really change much of that.
And so the reason why I use the word coachable, because that's a key word. And sometimes everyone does not know the true definition of what coachable really means. And I appreciate you digging in just a little bit, with that, right? But there's another aspect that I'm listening to as well as you were speaking. It might be also respecting who you are as an individual, respecting who I am as an individual. And in that respect, I take the time to know who you are, how you operate, like you said, knowing your values, your morals, things like that, and how that encourages how you make a decision in the business, And so how do I really use that space to create my brand? Because one of your questions on your pod match is no longer a luxury to disregard that, right? So how do I take what I truly believe in and really create a brand around that mentality?
So it's the easiest question you'll ever ask me. It's because whatever you are passionate about, if it is your business or something else, then it's a gift that you have and a perspective that you have.
Mm-hmm.
When you start sharing it in the world, and here's how we define it. Personal branding is not about your ego. It's about finding your uniqueness and sharing it in the service of others.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about it that way, you say, okay, I'm of service now to others. That means I need to share what I know with them. That is my brand. So in my world, I have two main tenets. One is leadership for my YPO world, and one is personal branding for my business. I actually pull them together because I believe that your personal brand is a leadership tenet. When you're out there sharing the best of you, you're being a leader inside your business and for others.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull those together and I have credibility in both. And that's important. You can't ask me to start talking about sleep as an expert because I don't have expertise and you wouldn't listen to me, right? Right? But I do have personal branding expertise and I do have leadership and I do have sales expertise and marketing expertise, but no one cares about those two things. They care about these two things. So once that's clear, then you start sharing it and then you'll watch people interact with you. And I'm telling you, Maurice, the magic behind that over time is powerful. People react when you are giving of yourself with gratitude and generosity. Magic happens when you do that, but it's not selling. It's not, you're never going to hear me today. Oh no, by the way, if you buy this today, it's not coming out of my mouth. It will not.
Right.
I want to invite you into my world. If you're the right person for us, great. If not, and I'm helping you, I'm in line with my service. So that's how we would approach that.
Sometimes we don't understand the importance of serving. We get caught up in the bottom line across the board. I don't care what it is, especially with things that's going on financially in the world today, the stock market crashing, whatever else. So we're worried about whether or not we could buy some cabbage or some spinach or something like that right now. Something basic, right? Eggs are like $13 for just 6 eggs. It's some real crazy astronomical number. So we get caught up in that. So we don't know how to serve because everything seems so capitalistic, right? So
Yeah.
how do we get back to that? Because that's also a grassroots mentality. How do we make that a more of a priority than we might have yesterday?
I mean, so it's in the old days when I used to be in sales, and someone said you need to generate $5 million a year. If I didn't have a how behind that, you can't manage the number. The number's the
Mm,
number. You have to do stuff to get to the number.
mhm,
So what we do in our world is we teach people, look, you do want to generate leads. You want to grow your business. You want to do all those things. So is it best to just sell hard? Do people want to be sold that way? No one wants to be sold.
mhm, mhm,
They want to help them buy whatever it is you sell. So to me, that's a life of service. Selling is service if you're helping somebody solve a problem for themselves.
hmm,
So it's perspective on how you serve. Now you can do that through content, which is what we recommend, and video content is what we recommend. Why? Because it humanizes you. You're a leader, an entrepreneur, a CEO. I want you to look around your industry and say, how many CEOs are out there? The answer is not a lot. So if you got out there and you humanized your business and people can get a look see into what you guys are all about, what will that do for your salespeople when they're out there? What will that do for your marketing when your marketing's out there? You're building trust at scale.
mm,
That's the magic. And that makes everything else get better. So when I'm out there doing videos every week and we do our strata marketing, people are looking at strata, they're looking at me, they're looking at my business partner, and they're seeing it all as the same value based giving thing. So it's making my marketing better
mm,
because
mhm.
I'm building trust as Alan. I'm not coming on as strata, I'm Alan here
Right.
and I'm giving you my expertise. You want my strata stuff? Go to my newsletter, download this document. This might help you. I'm not giving you that right now.
Right.
So the authenticity, the giving is a result. You'll get results if you give faster and more sustainable because you're building trust.
So you're talking about Alan, like I need to go on and do videos and share
Yep.
my voice, but I don't think
Yeah.
that I have value in my voice, Alan. So how do I get over those little intricacies or my imperfections because I'm a perfectionist, quote unquote? So how do I get
Yeah.
over those type of things and just get the work done because I don't believe in myself. I don't have enough confidence nor the greatest self esteem.
Yeah. The big imposter syndrome, right?
Right.
So of those 600 people that we talked about, 90% of them have that.
Mm,
So, but number one, you're not alone, right? Number two, Dr. Seuss was right, if you remember back, right? Only you are you. There's only one human that's ever been created like you with your perspectives and your background and your experiences. Only one. And try to tell me there's two. There's not. I don't care if you're a twin,
right.
if you're two people in the same business, you grew up differently because your friends are different, your
Hmm.
sports are different, you read differently, you think differently, you act differently. I can share a quick story if it might
Sure.
illustrate this for you. I had two gentlemen on a workshop they were in North Carolina. I asked them, "What do you guys do?" And they just happened to be out of 10 people. And one says, "Oh, I help with debt consolidation. I help people consult that way." I said, "Okay, great. What do you do?" "Oh, I do that as well." I said, "Well, tell me more about you." So on the surface, it would appear you're in the same business. Yes, it would. So person A said, I said, "Who do you work with?" "So I work with couples who get themselves into trouble with credit cards and debt and not using their mortgage properly, that kind of
Mm,
stuff. So you consult with them when they're in trouble, right?" So what about you? He says, "Well, I'm an immigrant from Ghana, and
mm,
I talk to other immigrants who don't even know what a credit card is."
mm,
So the perspective of the person from Ghana working with a new immigrant to the United States is something the other guy could never have.
hmm.
So they're in the same business, two different audiences and different perspectives because of how and where they grew up. Everybody's different. I don't care if you're in marketing, it's different. If you're in personal branding, it's different because of your
Hmm.
perspectives. That's what we're talking about. You got to dig deep enough to find it, and you got to have the guts to get over it.
Mm.
because your gift at the end of the day, the people we work with, they all have these fears,
Mm-hmm.
all of them. But when we teach them and work with them and hold their hand and cheerlead it, once they get over it, they recognize it's like anything else. The fear was unfounded, right? As my business partner said in a blog post the other day, fear doesn't know if it's a bear coming at you or a LinkedIn post. It's the same feeling, right?
Right.
But in reality, it's a little different. If a bear's coming for me, that's a little scary.
Right.
LinkedIn post, what am I really afraid of?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can learn how to do that, and we help people get over it. And then, boy, the other side is magical when they get there, Maurice.
And going back to your story, your illustration, you had, like you said, you have these two individuals who are in the same industry, right? The same topic, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, sometimes we look at the other person because they appear to be way more successful. And we're like, hey, how can I get to that point without understanding the true value that I bring? Because like you said, the two perspectives are valuable in their own lane. Yes, can they cross every now and then? Yeah, you might get a client here and there where they cross, but that's not necessarily my specialty. So now maybe I can partner with you and say, hey, you know what? Let me be the best referral for you and that type of thing. So sometimes even with that, because of competition, quote unquote, we don't even want to talk that way. We don't even want to look that way. We may not even want to, because we're looking for every penny we can get. So I think those are some of the things that we are challenged with as well. And that's how we also get lost in not knowing really who we are.
Yeah, you don't, and having a value of abundance, right? You all know how important that is as a conversation, right? So having those two people, and by the way, they did connect after the workshop and are talking. So because they had a similar value system where they can say, okay, we're both in the same thing, but we can help each other, right?
Right.
So when I look at competition, like I talk to other people who do personal brands, it's fine. This is a big world.
Mm-hmm.
You have an approach. You have an approach. I have an approach. We can learn from each other and grow from each other and help each other. When it's the wrong person, I'll hand them over to you. When it's the right person, you'll hand them over to me.
Right.
But here's the number one thing. Back to the word trust. Trust is not only for your customers, it's for your potential partners and suppliers and bankers and all your family, because you never know where something's going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
Some build trust with buddies from 30 years ago, and oh, let's go grab lunch together. And then the other day goes, a guy I'm working with needs to do his personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff happens to me every week. Every week. Why? Because back to the point earlier, when you're serving and giving out of generosity, then all the guards are down, and people go, that's either a guy I like or a guy I don't like, or a guy, but certainly a guy I trust. So if I'm in that mode one day to learn the things that you're talking about, I want to talk to Alan, or I want to learn more. So I'm going to go to his YouTube channel and I'm going to watch his videos and learn so I can do this on my own. I'm going to download the worksheet so I can work on my personal brand by myself. And you know what? I feel great about that because my job is to inspire leaders to be out there. That's my job. Whether they become clients or not, they have to be the right persona. Not everybody's the right persona, but when they are, that's when good stuff happens. When they're not, isn't that great to help somebody? Isn't that true happiness when you help somebody? So that's what I get so much out of doing these podcasts, because I know I'm helping, or at least I hope I'm helping people think about this differently.
And I think we get lost in that. Again, like I said, for myself, because I know for a while, I didn't think anybody was listening to this podcast. To be honest, I didn't. I got a little discouraged and things like that. But you have to find a way to keep yourself motivated, keep that energy up, but I really enjoy speaking to individuals like yourself because, like you said, we might be trying to offer this information out to the people that's listening, but you don't understand how much you inspire me just listening to you right now. To say, all right, Maurice, no, keep it going, bro.
So there was a video I saw the other day. You know Gary Vaynerchuk? You've heard of Gary Vaynerchuk? Mm-hmm. So for those who don't know, very famous, leadership marketing kind of guy. He did 600 videos before he got any attention. He did 270 blog posts before he got any attention. It took him 7 years. So and look at him today. Now he's a guru. He's making life's good, right?
Right.
So you stop after 20 podcasts. You stop after no video. Think about that. You're trying to cut through the noise on social. It's a ton of noise. What happened for me in my personal branding journey, about the year mark, the flywheel turned. Jim Collins' flywheel, it turned. Now I went, oh, I see it now. I can touch it. Stuff's coming to me from Cyprus and from New York and from Jamaica and from going, where's it coming from? I don't know these people.
Right.
They think they know me because they're experiencing me.
Right.
5 or 6 times, a podcast, a video, a post. So that if you keep it up and you have a good message, over time, you'll find your tribe. You'll find your people. They will come, but you can't stop. If you stop, it never happens and you'll miss things. So to me, it's a minimum of a year, but for Gary Vaynerchuk, it took 7. So now it was early stages of social.
Right. It's
all advanced today. You can do things faster, but if you do it right with sincerity, you will find your people. And it's really cool when you do.
Most definitely. So, Alan, I appreciate you coming on. So for those individuals that are listening, right, where can they find you? Because they might not have found their tribe. They may not have found their voice. They may not understand what people are saying to them about them as soon as they turn their back. So how can they find out from you and talk to you and get more information so that way they understand what their real brand really is, and really understand what branding truly is, because it's not just flyers and a logo.
It's not even that, not in personal branding for sure. So
right.
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. So Alan McLaren on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, you can always ask those. But if you follow my content, you'll learn a ton. And that's the biggest step for people is learning. So that's why I'd say step 1 is do that. Go to our website, strataoriginals.com. And then from there, everything can come together. And then what I'll say is in the show notes, you can put this in. It's on in Podmatch. There's a link there. You can get a free worksheet to go work on your personal brand yourself, right? Figure that out. And if for those of you who want more information, just reach out to me and say, listen, I'd love to spend 30 minutes with you, have a conversation and learn more about what you guys do and how you can help people and how you can think about that. Happy to do that. That's a gift that we give to people. And we'll just have a lot of fun doing it. So hopefully that's the ways to do it.
Cool. So everyone, as you well know, if you're walking, talking somewhere, riding a bike, whatever it is, all of Alan's information will be in the show notes. So whenever you get a chance to sit down, just click on the link. It'll be there for you. But Alan, before I let you go, bro, I have one more question for you.
Of course.
It's my would you rather question. Now, yes. So would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road?
3 doors. I would rather choose a fork in the road.
Okay. Now I'm going to back up for a moment. And say to you, there are no parameters. Use your imagination, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you why, because I've already had the fork in the road probably 15 times in my life.
Okay.
So there's been so many forks in the road where I turn right. I don't like the randomness of 3 doors for me. I don't like random. Well, it's just one of those 3.
Right.
No, I'm going right or I'm going left, and if whatever I choose, I'm going to make it work.
Okay.
So for me, that's how I would do it.
Okay. All right. Cool. I appreciate that because.
Are you judging me now?
Oh no! Heck no! Not at all. Because I'm in my my mindset's the same way. I gotta go right or left. Just make up your mind and let's get it done.
Yeah. No, life is way too short.
Right.
To be splitting about things. And when you're an entrepreneur, as I am, it's easy to make a decision, and if it's wrong, you decide something else and you just keep going. Just because perseverance and resilience, that is what entrepreneurship is all about. And we're making decisions every day to make our business better. And there's forks every day.
Right.
So that's why I responded that way.
And so for me, I mean, and this is something I just grasped recently. I'll say within the last 2 or 3 years. No way is the wrong way. It might just be a little longer way.
That's a good one. I like that.
Because in reality, you're going to learn no matter which way you're going to go, right? It might be a little longer. That's all.
listen, dude, everything takes longer than we want it, right?
Right.
Like I was just talking to a buddy this morning. He says, "How you doing?" I said, "We just had the biggest month ever." He says, "You're not celebrating?" I said, "No, I got another big month coming.
Right.
And I got another big month after that." And he says, "You're never," I said, "I'm always happy. I'm never content." Never. Because as soon as I become complacent about, oh, that's the biggest month we've ever had, I got a new mountain to climb, a new fork. So I got to climb that mountain next. And then I got to climb that mountain next. And I know what my annual goal is. I got to hit that. And that means I'm serving more people.
Right.
And if I'm serving more people, I'm making more of a difference. And so that's how I look at, that's why your fork in the road question is so powerful. It's what we do every single day.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So, but no, Alan, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I appreciate you sharing. It's a great, great insight, for so those of us that are inspired by that, keep it moving, Keep
it moving. I love that. I really appreciate you spending the time with me, Maurice. It was nice to meet you, and hopefully we can chat again in future.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Of course, y'all, thank y'all very much for listening to That Will Nevr Work podcast, and I will talk to you just a little bit later.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chism on social media to stay connected and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?